All right, we have a very special guest on the show today. He is a Cleveland City Councilman and now the Council President-elect, Blaine Griffin. Welcome to the show. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing good, Dario. How you doing today, man? Thank you for having me on the Outlaws.
I'm good, man. Glad you're here. So first, talk about that. How does that feel? You are the next city council president.
Well, I mean, I'm honored and humbled that my colleagues would have that much confidence in me to choose me as their council president. But first, before I even get to that point, I got to thank the residents of Ward 6 for allowing me to serve them. I serve a very diverse area. I call it a Dickensian model of a ward, where you have great affluent areas that are thriving, but you also have some very challenging areas. So to be able to be in a position that now I can expand my territory and be able to serve this entire city and be able to develop a team that could really do some magnificent change and work in the city of Cleveland, I'm just excited, man. I can't tell you, I'm over the roof. I've worked my entire career to get to this point. And hey, man, I'm just excited to be here, brother.
Awesome. Have you started putting your team together yet?
We have started talking to different people and making sure that we have a diverse team of Black, white, women, men, straight, gay, the whole spectrum. We just want to make sure that we have a team that's representative of Cleveland, because with city council, you have 17 members that come together. And even though people look at us as individual members, our strength is our body. So it's important to have a diverse team that represents all the factions of the city and really try to make sure that we, that we hear all of the voices in our city.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And one thing about Cleveland, obviously, as you mentioned, there are a lot of factions in Cleveland. And there's a lot of different groups. How do you help to unite the city and have this vision of one Cleveland?
Well, you got to be able to embrace differences from people. There's going to be time when iron has to sharpen iron. We did it with the lead safe ordinance, where we actually put a very meaningful piece of legislation together. And it took for us to really have disagreements, for us to have points of tension, healthy tension. And at the end of the day, it's about how do we get the outcome. I tell people this all the time. There was a clear mandate for change this past Tuesday, November the 2nd. But I often tell people all the time that change is not an event. It's a process. And what we have to do is really embrace everybody's differences, but also really be realistic with people and not make promises that we can't deliver. This thing is going to be like trying to turn around a tugboat in the middle of Lake Erie. You can't just do donuts. You got to actually really try to, subtly and carefully and strategically make that turnaround. And those are the things that we have to do.
Mm-hmm. We're talking with Councilman Blaine Griffin, who is the council president-elect. Talk a little bit about your vision. What is your vision as we move forward into the new year and as all the change that takes place? What is your vision for the city?
Restore trust in systems. We have a tremendous amount of distrust in systems, and people have lost faith that the systems are doing right by us. And we have to really try to make sure that people recognize that this is their system. This is not our system. This system is not here to serve me. It's not here to serve the new mayor-elect. It's not here to serve my colleagues. It's here to serve the citizens and stakeholders of the city of Cleveland. We also have to make sure that people need to know how to run their lane. Everybody can't be everything to everybody. We have to make sure that instead of trying to have a melting pot, I'd rather have a salad where we all complement each other's strengths and we don't magnify each other's weaknesses. We help eliminate each other's weaknesses by magnifying each other's strength. Public safety is the most critical issue that people want to see. They want to basically live in safe neighborhoods. They want police accountability. All of those things are inextricably tied. Housing insecurity is important. And of course, education and giving people a pipeline from and a pathway from childhood or birth actually all the way to adulthood. And, those are some of the tough things that we have to tackle. But then we also have some big problems that we have to deal with. I think that we are woefully inadequate in how we approach our water source. We have the largest water source, and I forget what the percentage is, but one of the largest percentages of water in the world. We should be a forerunner in water technology. Milwaukee's doing some real neat things. So hopefully we'll be creative and innovative in how we approach that. Industry 4.0, smart manufacturing, making sure that we get young people that may not want to go to college, but can get certified in manufacturing so that we can stop offshoring some of these jobs and keep them here and build institutions within the city of Cleveland where people can walk to work or take public transportation to work and not have to go way out to Solon. So I have an ambitious agenda, but I'm an ambitious person. Failure is not an option with me, Darville.
Absolutely, absolutely. So one of the things you mentioned, obviously, is public safety, and it's really a critical element. It's hard to do any of the other things if people aren't safe. So what is your approach to public safety? How do you tackle that?
One of the things we have to do with public safety is we have to restore confidence also with our police officers. Morale is down right now. So we have to make the police officers feel like they're cherished. We have to have more of a guardian mentality where police officers are more public servants because they're the most outwardly facing public service servants that people engage on a day-to-day basis. They don't engage their mayor. They don't see their mayor riding down the street every day. They don't see their council person all the time, even though they see them more so than their mayor. The person who they see the most is a lot of times the police department. So we have to make sure that our, police department is up to par and has the standards. But we also need to make sure that we put more bodies in the streets. We need more presence. We need more bodies. We need more cars. We have to be able to deal with some of the things like traffic enforcement in order to make sure that people recognize when you come into the city of Cleveland, you won't just treat it like a cesspool. You're going to treat it just like you do any other community. In addition to that, we have to embrace technology. We know, I'm a big proponent, and one of the things that I'm going to immediately do is reach out to all of my suburban counterparts that are mayors and council presidents and really try to encourage us all, as well as county government, to encourage us to embrace a countywide or region-wide chase policy that's more uniform so that different groups are not just speeding through the streets and putting citizens in jeopardy, but we also have more unified ways of monitoring the chases where we can have interdepartmental handoffs. And most importantly, Darville, and I'll move to the next question, is really embrace technology. We need to have more drones. We need to have things like technology where we can put magnets or these kind of tools on cars whenever they're in chase. Instead of police shooting at cars, put these kind of devices on them that magnetize, and you can actually track people wherever they go. So we have to use technology a lot better, and that's one of the things that I'm committed to do.
We're talking about Councilman Blaine Griffin, who is the city council president-elect. You talked earlier about lack of trust in systems and things like that. What do you think the biggest misconception is about elected officials or people in government?
Sometimes people don't really understand what our job is and what we're here to do. And sometimes people think that our job is to fix everything and put everything on government and make government responsible for everything from economic development to all of the things that we see in our community. And people don't hold other sectors accountable like they hold government accountable. I will tell you that a model that we have to embrace more of is the public, private, and philanthropic partnerships. Government cannot do this alone. We have to either facilitate development to help be the catalyst for development or to be the closers for development. We have to help create jobs. And sometimes that means that we have to spend government money in order to try to do that. We don't just walk around the community passing out checks. This is really hard on how you create economies of scale to make sure that everybody can benefit from wherever they are in their plight in life. So I think that people have unreal expectations of their elected officials, but at the same time, I think elected officials have done a poor job of educating the public, helping them understand what is the truth and what is not the truth, and most importantly, making promises that they can't deliver and making overreaches, government overreaches, and doing things that that give people hope, just to yank the rug out from up under them, the old Charlie Brown with the football trick, which people get tired of that, man. And that's the reason why they don't want to get involved in, and that they lose trust in people. I really pride myself on not making promises that I can't deliver. I'd rather tell you no up front and have you mad at me than to tell you, yes, I'm going to do something, and then don't do it and you're disappointed.
Yeah. And to that point, there's one thing that is really underreported that I haven't heard a lot of people focusing on in regards to this most recent election. It was the lowest voter turnout in the last 50 years. What can be done from a elected official standpoint to get people more motivated to come out and actually vote and participate in the process?
Well, first of all, people have to change their mindset as well. And I know it's hard to tell people the reality, but, the days of messianic leadership is over. The days of just having a charismatic, smooth, tongue leader who can just, get people worked up with their great speech and talk is over. It takes a collaborative leadership model, as I mentioned earlier, public-private philanthropic. It takes the public to work close with you. It takes, neighborhood influencers and indigenous leadership. The person who could probably get more people to the polls in the projects is that brother with tattoos on his neck that people look at as a castaway. But if we were able to get that brother to be able to go in Woodhill Estates, for example, where I live, and talk to the brothers and sisters in the neighborhood and say, hey, this is our piece, we need to take care of this, then those are the kind of influencers that we need to embrace in order to try to get more people involved. We've left too much intellectual capital out in this community off the hook. We got to make everybody accountable and responsible. It's not just me. Everybody has to be responsible and accountable. But people have gotten to a point where they want to punt all the responsibility on elected officials. What we really, really need to do is make sure that people know that elected officials work for them. And what we're really supposed to do is what the people want us to do.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And to that point, you are now Council President-elect, so pretty much other than the mayor, you're essentially the face of Cleveland. And some people, other than people in your ward, they may not be familiar with who you are and your background. So talk a little bit about who is Blaine Griffin.
Well, I'm glad that you mentioned that, because a lot of people don't know me. And, in this business, you get a lot of haters. And what's always phenomenal to me is, these haters don't know me. They don't know the kid who, grew up in the projects in Youngstown, Ohio, was fortunate enough, to escape some of the, the challenges of inner city and be able to get a scholarship to go play basketball. And fortunately got my degree and immediately came to the big city that is Cleveland right out of college, and immediately got involved in the community. They don't see the guy who has a wife of 25 years and 3 boys that I've raised right here in the Buckeye Woodland neighborhood. Even though I stay on a street called Larchmere, I tell people my gas bill says Woodland. So I stay in the neighborhood. I stay, eight houses up from MLK, brother. And if you're a fan of Boondocks and some of the shows out there, you know how the old saying says, if you live close to MLK, I'm willing to bet you don't stay in the rich part of town. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I'm the guy from the neighborhood, man. I'm just an everyday person who refused to leave and refused to give up on my people. I'm a guy who has made a lifelong effort to be a community organizer. I'm a guy who has run for office and lost, but never took my ball and went home. I'm a man who, has always mentored and coached kids in the neighborhood. I got some kids that's in the NBA and NFL that I've coached, and some, like Terry Rozier, who plays for the Charlotte Hornets, and Draymond Jones, who plays for the Denver Broncos. But then I also got kids who are in the penitentiary. I'm a guy who actually, when I became part of the mayor's office, worked with people in order to try to stop our city from being destroyed because of police-involved shootings and other high-profile tragedies because of the teams of people formerly incarcerated and street influencers that I put together to stop the violence in our community. I'm the person who just left the Imperial Avenue families who were the victims of Anthony Sowell, and who I helped shepherd them through one of their worst periods of their life. I'm a person who passed legislation to make a lead safe ordinance. I'm a person who decriminalized marijuana in the city of Cleveland to that now you can have 7 ounces, not because I'm encouraging everybody to go get high, but because I think that it's egregious when Black people are 8 times more likely than their white counterparts to get a charge for marijuana than their white counterparts. So I'm a person that has done the work, who has pushed the policy, a person who lives in the neighborhood, a person that's invested in the neighborhood, but I'm also a person with vision, a person who understands that we're in a time now that people want to see something different. And I'm from the Billy Bob Thornton School of Thought, that people want to be first, they want to be different, and they want to be the best. And that's what I think Cleveland deserves. How can we be first and innovative and stuff? How can we be the best at what we do and not talk about, oh, this is how they're doing it in Milwaukee, Detroit, Indianapolis, and also how we can be different, how we can be unique as a city and as a region. So I'm looking forward to the challenge. It's not going to be easy, but Blaine Griffin, and my friends call me Griff, by the way. So Griff is a guy that's just an everyday guy that you see at the grocery store, that you see at church, that you might see eating wings and having a beer at the bar. I'm just an everyday guy, man, who God is blessed to be in this position. And I just thank him so much for it.
Right. And you talked about your ward and the diversity that you have in your ward, and part of your ward is, like you said, you have wealthy areas of your ward, you have impoverished areas of your ward. And for me personally, a passion of mine is the concern for working class people and lower income people in this city, and making sure that everybody has opportunities to be successful. So how can we, what can we do to tackle that? Because obviously there's a lot of income inequality in the city of Cleveland. How do we create more opportunities so that working class people and poor people have more opportunities to access all of the great things that this city has to offer?
We have to restore the middle class in the city of Cleveland. Right now, I think that we have 2 Clevelands. We have a very wealthy Cleveland, and we have a very poor Cleveland. And what has been missing and what has been eradicated through the years through racism, institutional inequality, urban sprawl, and all of the other ugly social determinants of health and other things that you can imagine, is that the middle class has been eviscerated in the city of Cleveland. We got to find a way to try to grow Cleveland from the middle out and not the top down, or try to overwhelmingly continue to keep people mired in poverty. We got to have not only racial diversity, but economic diversity. One of the things I'm very excited about is that we have a project, we got a $35 million HUD Choice Award for Woodhill Estates. More is Black for the folks that's in the neighborhood. I know your audience is very diverse. So we got to have a way to make sure that with a project like that we promote economic diversity so that we deconcentrate poverty. We got large, massive sales of poverty, which lead to health disparities, high crime, low educational attainment, and all of the other inequitable things that we are doing now. So I can hold up Woodhill Estates as an example of a vision that we put in place through working with the residents on how we can have a pathway to home ownership, good job training, quality preschool education, eradicate infant mortality, and be able to create wealth. That's what people are missing in this. Not just a job. How do you create wealth? And the way that you create wealth in a lot of ways is to have home ownership. So it's not just a job, even though jobs are important and dealing with the health disparities and those things are important, but we got to find ways to create wealth so that my sons, your sons, our friends' daughters, our friends' families are able to stand on a platform so that they can get a better head start in life than some of us have had.
Absolutely, absolutely. And what you said is very important because I hear very few people talk about creating wealth. You know, you have plenty of people that talk about jobs and things like that, but really, if you really want to have equity, if you really want to have equality, it's about the creation and generation of wealth. So I'm glad to hear you say that because you don't hear that coming from a lot of people.
Thank you.
So as we get ready to close here, for people in the neighborhood, in your neighborhood and other neighborhoods across the city who come from similar backgrounds as you, who are trying to aspire to be something, what advice would you give to them?
Don't give up and persevere. Ignore your haters, embrace your supporters. And at the end of the day, everybody has a path. I'm a man of faith, Darvio, and I would tell you that one of my favorite scriptures is Jeremiah, and it talks about how God has a plan for you. Everybody has a plan for their life. Everybody has a purpose, and the whole goal and the whole key is this purpose. And then also, if we look at lessons, and I'm not trying to give a sermon today, but it's really kind of giving my guiding principles and really kind of guides my ethos, pathos, and logos in life. Is that when you look at the whole theme of I'm a biblical believer. It's all about love, man. Do you love this community? Every time that I put out a tweet or a Facebook page, I always end it with hashtag I love Ward 6, I love CLE. Because what we're missing in the whole equation and all that we're doing in this is love. And the whole biblical concept that people miss is the same thing that we should be doing in everyday life, is how do you promote unconditional love? How do you promote and support people no matter what stage or platform in life that they are? How do you make sure that you embrace the least of these, the people that are on drugs, the people that are the wine, drinking wine and, and some people look down on, but also how do you not hate rich people? Rich people love this city too. It's just a matter of some of them got a good break or some of them worked hard and got wealthy. How do we marry both worlds? And I always hold myself up as the model of living in a Dickensian model where I live at right here on MLK and Larchmere in the Woodland Hills area, a half a mile to the east of me are some of the most wealthy communities and richest households in our whole region and sometimes in the whole country. But then a half a mile to the west of me are some of the poorest communities. And how do we try to make sure that we focus on making sure that everybody can take advantage of this American dream and this Cleveland vision and this Cleveland pride that we all talk about?
All right. Let everybody know how to follow you on social media, keep up with what you got going on, all that good stuff, sir.
Thank you, boss, man. They could always reach me at Blaine A. Griffin. I got a Facebook page that's called The Griffin Report. Please follow The Griffin Report, or you can follow Blaine A. Griffin. I don't try to delineate between the different pages. I'm also at Twitter at Griff for CLE, for Griff for CLE 6 on Twitter and on Instagram. You can look me up at Griff for CLE 6. And Dario, man, I hope that you post this so I can push this out and tell all my followers to watch your show as well, man, because you really on to something with this Outlaws program, brother.
I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for spending some time with us. And congratulations once again for being council president-elect. I know that you're going to serve the city well. So thank you, sir.
Thank you, boss. And anytime you need me, you and your followers, don't hesitate to contact me, all right?
Absolutely. We'll do so. Thank you.
Thank you, fam.